Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the MiG-21 SPS-K, a Tier 6, currently 10.0 BR premium pack fighter for Germany. It currently costs $60 USD for its pack when not on sale, and also comes with 2000 GE and 15 days of premium time. I'll go over its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses, and then give my final ratings on this plane and my final recommendation on if I think that you should purchase this plane or not. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, but otherwise, let's get into the video. To start, I'll place the SPS-K's stat card here on the left. In short, it's essentially a MiG-21 PFM, of which sits at 9.3 BR in RB, except that the SPS-K has access to more missile types than just the 2 R3s on the PFM, including 2 R13M missiles, 4 R3Rs, and 2 of the amazing R60 missiles. That said, for how the SPS-K plays, and it's quite simple. Much like all other MiG-21s, this is a fighter through and through. While it isn't as quick or as fast as other MiG-21s like the MF, SMT, or BIS variants, it can still outclimb most planes in a 30-degree climb when in a down tier. In my experience with this plane, I would say that down tiers are fairly common, being a bit over 50% of the matches that I participated in, maybe even a bit over 60 or 65%. As such, the SPS-K functions great as a boom and zoom dogfighter, meaning that it climbs very well early in the match and then swoops down on unsuspecting opponents with ease, being able to keep up with any movements that they make due to the SPS-K's great agility. While many people will point out that the SPS-K is just a variant of the PFM that can carry better weaponry, meaning that it keeps the same mediocre engine that the PFM is stuck with at 9.3 VR, I have found great success in nearly all of my matches with the SPS-K. So it really does depend on how you use it. Also, to be honest, how many down tiers you are lucky enough to participate in. Regardless, the SPS-K bleeds energy, as all MiG-21s do, and like the PFM, will lack the power of the BIS or even the MF variant to get your speed back, which is especially dangerous at low altitudes, because the SPS-K, like other MiG-21s, sinks very quickly below 400 kilometers per hour, which is not exactly an uncommon scenario. This makes landing surprisingly tricky, at least compared to other fighters and when coming down from a somewhat high altitude in a short period of time. Also, mind the trees. Because of these issues at low speed, both in that it reaches low speed very quickly due to its energy bleeding characteristics and its mediocre acceleration at said low speeds, it is of great importance that you never get below 1000 meters and below 450 kilometers per hour if you can help it. Although doing this when you are sure that there are no enemies around is permissible. This is because the SPS-K has somewhat of a cooldown period where it needs to regain its energy between fights. Just as much, you need to make sure that you're carrying at least 20 minutes of fuel at the start of a match. Otherwise, you will find yourself in the middle of the match sinking slowly, realizing that your engine died due to having no fuel. You will use your afterburners that much. Now in CAS, it functions basically the same as all other MiGs in a close air support role. It's competent but not great. The SPS-K does have the benefit of having a ballistic computer for its rockets, but it has extremely limited choices insofar as ordnance is concerned, with just 2 pylons that are usable for ground strike ordnance. These will allow you to carry up to 64 S5K rockets, 2 large S24 rockets, 2 250 kilogram bombs, or 2 500 kilogram bombs, which in total isn't amazing, nor will you be able to carry air-to-air missiles and anti-ground ordnance simultaneously. In short, it functions okay in the ground attack role, but should be passed over for basically any equal or higher BR regular tech tree plane, or the G91 R4 premium plane, at least as of the writing of this review. Rockets are its strong suit, as it has a ballistics computer for rockets, but you'd be better as air cover in a ground match, shooting enemy planes and helicopters out of the sky, as that is what this plane is much better at doing, at least when compared to close air support. And now for its strengths and weaknesses, and I'll start off with its strengths. Like nearly all other MiG-21s, the SPS-K has prodigious top speed and maneuverability, at least compared to its BR, although its acceleration leaves something to be desired. Secondly, the SPS-K has access to a rocket ballistics computer. Third, it has a powerful cannon that can be used against air and lightly armored ground units. For its fourth strength, it has decent secondary ground attack options. For its fifth strength, this is something a little bit more aesthetic, but it has a really cool stock skin. And finally, it has premium SL and RP bonuses. And now for its weaknesses, it lacks a large amount of secondary ordnance ordnance. While it is usable as close air support, really it can only do so in a pinch, and there are better options even sitting below it in BR in the German air tech tree. Secondly, you have to choose between carrying a cannon and carrying countermeasures. Third, the SPS-K lacks a ballistics computer for bombs. Fourth, the SPS-K has poor acceleration, which is pretty much the same as the MiG-21 PFM in that regard, as they have the same engine. In many ways, the SPS-K is the PFM plus R60s and a few other types of missiles that you'll probably never use. Fifth, it bleeds energy extremely quickly, which is a characteristic of most, if not all, MiG-21s. Sixth, the SPS-K, much like most other MiG-21s, has somewhat mediocre air brakes. And finally, the SPS-K is much worse than the 0.3 BR higher MiG-21 MF in terms of engine performance and ability to carry missiles, and slightly worse in regards to the amount of ground ordnance that it can carry. The MF can carry 4 R60s to the SPS-K's 2, up to 96 S5K rockets, 4 S24 rockets, 4 250 kilogram bombs, and also has the option to carry ground ordnance plus air-to-air missiles simultaneously. Because of this, I could see the SPS-K possibly seeing a BR drop down to 9.7, although this would cause controversy because, of course, the R60s are incredibly dominant no matter how many you can carry and regardless of your engine performance. And now for my final overview, recommendation, and ratings of the SPS-K. Put succinctly, one can make the argument the MiG-21 SPS-K should sit at 9.7 BR. The problem with this is that while it does have poor performance that is relatively equal to a currently 9.3 BR plane in the PFM, it has 10.3 BR missiles in the R60s. It does, however, only get 2 of them, so this mitigates it enough where one could possibly argue 9.7 BR is warranted for the SPS-K. Either way, the SPS-K, as of the writing of this review, faces 11.0 BR vehicles with some regularity, whereas if it were moved to 9.7 BR, it would only rarely fight them. I don't know if this will ever happen though, because R60s are awesome even at 11.0 BR, let alone when in a down tier, especially if the SPS-K were moved to 9.7 BR. So this said, is it worthy of it being 10.0 BR? I think that the SPS-K can be played there and still be successful, as I personally rarely walk away without at least a single kill in air RB, and can do fairly well in ground RB, especially with the rockets, given its ballistics computer. This said, it is certainly a struggle to place where a vehicle should be that has 9.3 to 9.7 possibly BR engine performance, but a 10.0 or 10.3 BR weaponry system. Either way, I think that as BRs increase, and especially as missiles get better, weaponry begins to trump performance, and so even with 2 R60 missiles, it can still hang at its BR. Its only real issue is that the SPS-K is extremely sensitive to both up tiers and down tiers, doing extremely well in down tiers, but typically doing very poorly in up tiers, with little in between. It can do well enough in ground attack, but unlike some of the other pack premium planes, such as the A5C, F5C, and A4E late, it cannot really hang in a close air support role outside of being able to do so in a pinch. If you have no other planes around this BR that are able to do CAS, then the SPS-K can work. But helicopters and other planes like the F-104G, F4F late, MiG-21 MF, MiG-21 BIS SAL, or really any other 10.0 BR plus plane that gets added from here through infinity for Germany. That said, for my ratings, I give the MiG-21 SPS-K an 8.5 out of 10 for dogfighting if in a down tier, with it decreasing down to 5 out of 10 when in a total up tier. While it remains maneuverable in an up tier, other planes, including other MiG-21s, far outperform the SPS-K in nearly every way, leaving it to be a fish in a barrel. In a down tier, however, you will typically have more speed, acceleration, maneuverability, and better armaments than most enemies, making it so that you can get numerous kills with ease, lending to the SPS-K being one of the best planes in any down tier or even in a 0.3 BR up tier. Plus, being in a down tier removes the necessity of equipping countermeasures, freeing up space for your cannon, which I personally have had much success in using. For close air support, I give it a 4.5 out of 10. While it can certainly be used in a pinch, as mentioned before, as it has a helpful ballistics computer for its rockets, mean that you can get more kills from less powerful ordnance, you don't have much in the way of ordnance. Unless you are perfectly accurate, you will still not likely get more than 1 or 2 kills before being forced to go back to base, if you get any kills at all against ground units. The SPS-K is a bit more useful in providing air cover, which is something that your SPAA on your team should be doing anyways. Pretty much every 10.0 BR plane and above for Germany is better at close air support than the SPS-K. That doesn't mean that the SPS-K is bad, it just means that it isn't as good as others. Its real saving grace is its ballistics computer. Otherwise, I'd give it a 3 out of 10 for close air support. For grinding, I give the SPS-K a 6.5 out of 10. While it can be used in a variety of situations, it really is best at grinding in air RB, and even then, it isn't always amazing. Its saving grace are its RP and Silverline bonuses. Without those, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10, simply because it is fairly hit or miss at 10.0 BR. In a down tier, a 2 or 3 kill game is fairly common, whereas in a total up tier, you may need a good amount of luck to get a single kill. Close air support is much the same way. It's good but not great, and gets by because it's a premium plane that has decent potential, but of course it's not amazing. Overall, I give the SPS-K a 6 out of 10. While it is a great plane for dogfighting, especially in a down tier, it is basically an up BR PFM that has R60s, and unfortunately not much more, outside of optional countermeasures, R3Rs, and R13Ms, although you will likely always opt for the two R60s. In terms of overall value, I give the SPS-K a 6 out of 10, but a 7 out of 10 for those that only play air RB, and a 4 out of 10 for ground RB usage exclusively, with air RB being weighted much more heavily because this is a dogfighter after all. So, should you buy the SPS-K? I'll say an overwhelming maybe. Somehow, in spite of its deficiencies, such as being a PFM at 10.0 BR, I have had nothing except success with the SPS-K. I've had more 2 to 4 kill matches with the SPS-K over a dozen matches than I've had with any other plane in RB over such a short period of time. This is largely due to its R60 missiles, but I've also gotten probably around 30% of my kills with my cannon as well. Its missiles take this from being an otherwise mediocre MiG-21 and turns it into an absolute monster in a dogfight. Time and time again, my gun kills were so common that have vindicated my omittance of countermeasures for my lineup. Oddly enough, I've had enough success with this vehicle to the point where I question my previous statements that this could or should be a 9.7 BR vehicle. The SPS-K is a somewhat unique vehicle in War Thunder because it can dominate or be dominated. It is objectively worse than the MiG-21 MF, BIS, or other more advanced variants of the MiG-21, but the R60s carry this plane, and in that way, the SPS-K feels like it is just a vessel for the missiles and or cannon that it carries, whereas other better performing planes feel more equal with the weaponry that they carry, or in some instances, possibly like the P-51H5, feel better than their armament. Either way, I don't know if I'm a unique story or if this is common, but I dominate with the SPS-K. I have to throw the match to do poorly in air RB. In ground RB, unfortunately, it's a different story, and you'd be better off with the G91 R4 in its stead, even in high BR matches, though the SPS-K can still perform decently in the right scenarios in ground RB. So again, should you buy the SPS-K? Yes, if you like MiGs and R60s, but no if you hate the PFM or poorly performing aircraft and rely more on your aircraft than your weapon for kills. It's difficult to pin down why I like this plane so much, but I feel that it is genuinely great in the right hands, and possibly this might be that one plane for me. But honestly, it's probably just because it has R60s at such a low BR and really nothing else. That said, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like more content like this, but either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.